Bartenders overheard it. What was the weirdest, craziest thing you have overheard while making someone's drink? The first restaurant bar I worked in I was only serving, but I frequently was in the section right next to the bar. One day I was busy serving a large group, but the restaurant was mostly empty and a guy behind me at the bar said, "You wanna pet my parrot?" My initial reaction was the same as if a stranger had just come up behind me and touched my shoulders, but when I turned around, it really was a guy with a parrot on his shoulder. I was a bartender for about 2 weeks, filling in for a relative who owned a bar and went on his honeymoon. I heard a guy talking to a woman about murdering her husband. I called the cops, but these patrons were gone before they showed up. This was before cameras, so I just gave my story and that was it. Not long after, my uncle calls me saying the cops are looking for me. They interview me about the couple. Apparently, the guy was a hitman for hire and the woman was trying to get some insurance money. She got busted. It was actually an episode of Forensic Files back when that was on TV. I remember watching the episode and they said something like the couple was overheard discussing the murder in a bar. I was kind of upset that they didn't mention me. Lol. I was hoping for the awesome bartender overheard them, but couldn't really tell us much. He also pointed at the male in the photo lineup and asked us, "Is this him?" As if he was unsure. What a ducking dope. We had to use forensic evidence because the eyewitness was useless. A married couple in their 50s arguing how they were going to explain the fact they couldn't pay the remainder of the €3 million bill for a Ferris wheel they'd ordered 18 months ago. Already put $1 million deposit on, and whose collection was due at 8 AM the following morning. I was tending bar during an extremely busy happy hour. The place was mobbed and super noisy. Suddenly, a guy sitting at the bar stands up and announces, "Ladies and gentlemen of the bar, I represent the Acme Meat Company and we carry a full line of high quality." Full stop. The entire bar goes silent while he continues to do his sales pitch at full volume. For some reason he decided that this was a great time and place to hustle up some business. My manager sprinted over to him and told him knock it off and that kind of thing wasn't allowed in here. So he sat down and resumed drinking. I had to reread this twice because I couldn't believe the guy didn't drop his pants. I once had to ask a woman to remove her infant from the bar top. She put them on the floor. I really don't miss bartending. Ugh, people bringing in kids. I worked at the dirtiest punk rock bar imaginable for a bit years ago. We did some trade in food. Mostly vegan stuff. One brunch this dude comes in with 2 young kids and sits down to order brunch. We tried to warn him away, but he was adamant on staying. He complained when Duck the Pain Away by Peaches came on the jukebox. Like, "I'm here with my kids. This is inappropriate." Yes, it is inappropriate. Where do you think you are right now? Customer speaking to his friend. "Mate, I can't believe you couldn't get it up for her. I mean, I would have just ducked the bitch soft and use a shoehorn or something." Me. "That'll be you a cute 9. Someone was boasting about his very small penis. Very tiny. Like micro. Was tending bar at my local pub. Loads of old boys used to come in and get properly razzled. One day, I am polishing glasses and they'd been day drinking and it was around 7 PM. I hear this almighty crash and turn around. One of them has fallen off their bar stool. Total silence. Then one guy just loudly declares, "Didn't spill a drop." The whole pub erupts with laughter. Guy who fell off still stands up, tips his hat, and went home. I knew a guy that was an amazing bartender. He'd get random BS drink names all the time and he'd make them perfectly. "Can I get a SI mosquito?" "Sure." "What color?" "Pink." "I can do pink." Combines random tea. "Here you go. It's good." "Yo, I know. Just like last time." It was always hilarious. Don't know if this is common but was sitting at a bar with a band. It was noisy and crowded. Some girl comes up next to where I was sitting and tells the bartender, "Excuse me. But I just saw that guy, customer, right there put something in that girl's drink. I didn't see the guy she pointed to. Bartender turns around and said something. I suspect a code word to somebody. And bam. Immediately all the lights go on. The manager steps on stage, stops the band, and makes the following announcement. Attention. We have a report that someone in this room possibly drugged a young lady's drink. We request that all women here immediately put down your drink and don't take another sip. We will replace your drink for free. If you are that young lady, we will notify you when you come to the bar. If anyone is feeling sick or weak, please let us know. Whoa. Lights stayed on. Band remained off. For a long time. Maybe an hour. Cheers from the crowd and nobody complained. Don't know what the guy did because I didn't know which guy it was. That place rocks. From a woman to her friend. I don't know about you, but I just can't poop in a pink bathroom. Man and woman is sitting at the bar. She starts crying and says, I just want us to have something special. The guy looked her dead in the eyes and said, we do have something special. We have sex. We are both married. 10 minutes later they are making out and she's rubbing his DCK over his pants. I love slow Wednesdays. Bartending on a slow night like 15 years ago. These two guys. One a regular. Talking about the past and keeping their voices low. The regular says how he shot some guy on his street in like the 70s and just came back in the house and hid the gun in his recliner. Said when the cops were going door to door asking questions he just said he didn't know or hear anything. I was always hearing crazy shtick cause I just kept to myself unless a customer was looking to talk, and like a previous bartender stated, we hear it all. Yes, we do know all about the drugs. I always wondered if that victim died in that incident. But just a few short years after I overheard that convo, the regular died a painful death. Maybe deserved. Bartending at a strip club. I'd have guys ask me to get them girls every other night. Like, here's $200. Which one of these dancers will duck me? None. None. Dude. Semicolon. Semicolon. Allison totally would. But I'm not telling anyone. One of the guys at the bar recognized me. Somehow. He said he knew my mother. And dropped her name. Somehow. He apparently met her at a BDSM club. Somehow. His toe was in my ass. Red Foreman has entered the chat. Lots of genitalia talk at the one bar I worked at that was more men networking doing business drinks. The weirdest was these two guys who sat at the bar instead of a table and tried to kick me out by asking if I can leave the bar area because they want to have a private conversation. How about no? I'm polishing glasses for the evening rush for a convention and I'm not standing in the middle of the ducking room. I said I'll go stand at the far end of my bar and polish there. Man 1. Her CCH has a rank smell. Tried all kinds of creams and stuff. She's going to the doctor. Man 2. That's fine. Reason not to eat it. Man 1. I still duck it. At least whatever yeast happening there makes it slippery. I just have to shower or smell like rotting fish. Man 2. That's ducking gross dude. Man 1. Duck you dude. I wonder what it is. I wanted to say it's probably trichomoniasis but also horrified that he was still having sex with her and probably contributing to making it even worse and causing some BV issues. That poor woman. Not by a bartender and also not me. But my sister once overheard two rather large men sat at the bar. Silent for ages until one suddenly turns to the other, why are you so fat? Shrugs, cause I eat a lot, then they just went back to drinking in silence. 30 something girl telling a 50 something dude that she'll blow him for a beer. Hey. Some women do that for free. This entrepreneur was up a beer. So who's the real blower? I mean sucker. I witnessed a complete relationship between two women over the course of one night. They met early in the night. They were clearly into each other. Very flirty. They danced and drank the night way. They started making out and then disappeared for some time. Next time I saw them they were at each other's throats. No clue what happened, but it ended with one saying I never want to see you again. Then stormed out of the bar. After that night I never saw either of them again. They just speed on the entire relationship. Wait, do I take the roofie or does she take the roofie? FFS. Please tell me you told him to take it. I occasionally work as a casino bartender and we will sometimes host the Marine Corps ball. They get rowdy and have a good time. But it's at the very end that you start seeing grown men cry. They start talking about their experiences during service with each other. The worst stories I ever overheard were from vets who served during the Vietnam War. It must have been terrible. Guy by himself. Should I make it a double? Same guy by himself. Yeah, I think you should. Too many to count AMD. I've only been at it like 5 years. I've seen We Should See Other People converse. Awkward Tinder meetups. Regulars who come in with a different girl every time. A regular whose wife I know. Come and W someone else. Another regular come in looking at her husband, who was with someone else earlier that day. I got a couple now that I adore. But she is always wearing a very fancy but obvious submissive collar. I lost count of how many men my dad's age and up will ask me for my number. My most awkward to this day though was a couple who literally followed me from one bar to the next when I changed jobs. And then asked me to watch their dog for a sec while they went outside. Turns out they were breaking up after 10 years together. I still saw them each after them but never on the same day. Like they decided ahead of time who got me when. Regular of mine who I hadn't seen in a while was sitting at the bar when I came in for a shift change. I came in the back way and noticed he had crutches leaning against the bar. Recently in the news someone hadn't had their shotgun properly secured in their truck and it went off. So I jokingly say, "You're that ducking idiot who blew off his leg, aren't you?" The whole bar gets quiet and everyone is mean mugging me. My regular starts laughing. Yeah. It was him. I had no idea. I didn't apologize. Because as his favorite asshole bartender those comments were expected of me. Poor guy was only 20 couple and blew his leg off close to the hip. No idea how he survived. The craziest was when a man ordered a filet well done and refused to have it butterflied. That's like a 30-minute cook time. He ate it with ketchup. The second was two older guys celebrating one of them getting out of jail. Over the course of the night I learned that he was arrested for DUI when he was parked beside train tracks. The other guy asked what he did with the crack rocks that he shoved in his ass, didn't get to hear the answer. And that he was lucky he hadn't been caught hauling the gas cans to his business partner's house. I worked in an open kitchen. A friend came in with a new girl and sat right in front of the line. They're having such a nice time. So happy for them. About halfway through their second bottle of wine. His date's loose-fitting shoulder shruggy type shirt falls a little too down and her bare titty is fully out. He doesn't even notice, sitting close on the same side of the booth. It's hilarious but like, oh snap. I get the server to go talk to them and let her know. Pretty awesome. Same server also saved a man's life after realizing he was choking to death. He left the restaurant cause he was embarrassed he was choking. She followed him and got him as he was collapsing outside. Lil 1-2 Heimlich and she popped it out. She is still my very good friend and a total ducking legend. He left the restaurant cause he was embarrassed he was choking. She followed him and got him as he was collapsing outside. Lil 1-2 Heimlich and she popped it out. LPT. If you're choking, don't worry about being embarrassed. That's awesome that the server noticed. Had a customer complain that we ruined their new $100 pair of pants by getting bleach on them. We do add bleach to our sanitizer since the beginning of the pandemic. But it's like a 1:1,000 ratio. She continually called and emailed about how they already ordered a new pair and we will reimburse her. She showed up a couple days later with the pants that they hadn't even washed yet because they didn't want to make it worse. Our sweet as hell day bartender noticed it was not the usual color of bleached jeans. Grabbed a pen. SCR ped at the spot. And whatever little bit of sauce she had dropped on their pants that day chipped away. She left with the pants and we haven't seen her since. Favorite outcome to a wild situation. We hosted an event for Georgetown Hospital where interviewees for the residency program could come and have an icebreaker with those conducting the interviews. One of them ended up having a few too many and tried to give my manager and the rest of us back rubs. Ended up cutting him off and the rest of his friends after they bought a drink and handed it to him after. Somehow the person who organized it caught wind and sent an email apologizing whilst claiming that those involved had their interviews cancelled. TL. Doctor, don't get too ripped at a professional event that decides your entire career. A guy asked me to drug a girl's drink for him. I told him I would do it. Took the drugs from him. Called the cops and gave the cops the drugs when they got there. Edit. Thank you everyone for the awards and upvotes. I will be stopping replies though because I worked a 12-hour shift last night and I'm going to sleep. Have a great day everyone. When I bartended 25 years ago, had a regular who was a transvestite in his 60s. Very kind. Would come in. Order a glass of rose and be content. Had a group other regulars. Retired guys that thought they were God's gifts to all women. Drink the wars. Brag about their boats and their sword conquests. Only occasionally would they be at the bar at the same time. When they were, the group of guys would make snarky comments to themselves about her. One day they were feeling especially pickled and asshole-ish and the comments questions were directly at her and within her space. I wasn't really too concerned because I learned through convos with her that she was once a Golden Gloves boxer and if the idiots had paid attention and looked at her hands they'd see they were friggin' cinder blocks. One got too close and too obnoxious and boom. Clocked him. Straight down. She went back to her rows. He got helped up by the rest of his group. Guys never bothered her again. An Iranian girl was on holiday with her brother and sister. The family came in for burgers. Were known for burgers and a good time. While waiting she got a little tipsy and the beer must have bloated her because while eating the burger she started dirty talking it. I'm going to take you upstairs and show you a good time. Let's go to bed so I can finish you off. You're going to make me feel so good tonight. She was an absolute treat of person and one of my favorite customers. One day I had a guy that had just won a bunch of money on a horse race. Like to the tune of $10. 000. He was sober on arrival-ish. But kept ordering bottles of red wine, expensive pinot if I remember right. Anyway. He seemed fine until all of a sudden I was making a drink and I heard him talking to this couple at the bar. Paraphrasing. Guy. Starts sobbing, I'm an alcoholic. Nobody loves me. And aside from money I've got nothing. My life is shitty. And I just want someone to hold me. Woman. Touches his shoulder AWW. I'm very sorry to hear that. You remind me so much of my son. Maybe you've had enough wine? Guy. Face changes to weird Joker smile, haha. Acting. You never suspected a thing. Woman. Oh, you got me really good there. Forces a sad but caring face. Semicolon. Anyway. Guy wished faced. We had to have him escorted out shortly after all that. But that convo was one I'll never forget. Dude was full on crying, sobbing for at least 3-5 minutes before pretending it was all an act. Had a guy start snapping his girlfriend's little finger because she made a comment that embarrassed him. He did it whilst looking my co-worker in the eye and continuing to chat cheerfully. My co-worker didn't notice. But I did and gave the signal to the doorman. The doorman, being 6'6", proceeded to come over and ask the guy to leave. The guy physically resisted and I saw something that forever changed my understanding of how gravity, wooden floorboards and human bodies interact. The saddest part was the girlfriend following after. Even though her little finger was visibly swollen. Since your question seemed concerned with the auditory. The smothered squeak the girlfriend made. The slap his body made as it bounced, literally bounced, off the floorboards and the way the girlfriend called her abuser's name as she followed after. Stand out in memory. Edit. Where I'm from. If someone were to say he snapped his leg, it would mean the person broke their leg. This appears not to be universal though. So I'll clarify. I mean the man was bending her finger at an unnatural angle until it was at the point of breaking. I overheard a woman who worked in the ER explaining to her date about a time that she helped a couple who had been having sex. And his DCK literally fractured inside her. It's a real thing. And let me tell you, that story was rough. Edit. One lady got too drunk off Cosmos and kept asking her partner if she could peg him. I've worked in bars for years. But I'll never forget the terrified expression on his face when she asked. It started off as PSSY, but now it's love. I love my wife. I love my kids and I will never leave them. But I will duck you. I heard an 80-year-old woman confide in her friend that she did kill her husband 20 years ago. Not a bartender, but this is a story from a friend who was in a college town. An expensive elite college that was mostly privileged pricks. The bar she worked at was also a restaurant, so there were usually families kids there till like 9 to 10 PM. One night a group of college students was there drinking around like 8 PM and they literally took out a bag of coke in the middle of the restaurant and were about to do lines off the table, so she came over, wiped the blow onto the floor and asked them what the duck they were doing and kicked them out. Apparently there were actual children around. IDK if anyone else noticed besides her, but yeah, pretty duck in bold move on their part, haha, but also not surprising. St. Patrick's Day. So the bar was crowded. Most people are pretty lively. But one middle-aged guy sitting at the bar looks miserable. Just staring at his beer in silence for maybe an hour. Slowly sipping. I've already been watching him because he seemed out of place. But I wasn't working that area. At this point, he's 3/4 of the way done with his beer. And he abruptly stands up. And walks to the back of the bar toward the hallway with the bathrooms and the kitchen. I watch as he walks past the bathrooms. And straight to the back door. Labeled emergency exit only. With zero hesitation. He pushes through the door. Luckily not alarmed. At this point I followed after him to see where he was going. As soon as he gets outside, he rips off the flannel shirt he was wearing and tosses it into the dumpster. Turning around in just his white tank top undershirt. He sees me and just says I was wearing too many shirts. He walked right back inside. Finished his beer just as silently as before. And then left. I work in a hotel and we had an under-19s football team staying. It was evening and they'd all had dinner and gone back to their rooms. I was in the bar serving a group of middle-aged people when a couple of the women, probably in their 40s, started screaming in excitement. One of the lads from the football team was getting changed and had forgotten to shut his curtains. So you could see in from the bar windows opposite. These women proceeded to get the other two women in the group to run outside with them, and they all ran out like kids at ducking Christmas to stand on the lawn and watch this little teenager get undressed. I told the men still in the bar that they needed to get these women back inside and that most of these lads were minors. They told them and they did not care. I had to call reception and tell them to call the adults with the team to go to all the boys' rooms and make them aware to close their windows. That one really sticks out to me because it was such disgusting behavior.